Welcome to another edition of the Buy Low Fantasy Sports Show with Mitch and Bam. I'm Mitch. He's Bam. Bam, say hello.
Hey, everyone.
We just want to do a quick recap of Week 2 today. Kind of get some ideas thrown out there that'll help you win your fantasy leagues moving forward.
Yeah, I got a lot of news to catch up on. Busy week, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Busy week.
You want to jumpstart us off with the recap?
Yeah, I want to start off with Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. That offense is starting to look into midseason form. If you listen to some of our previous shows here, we let you know that this is offense we really liked, but it might take them a few weeks to get on track, but I guess not. So they're already there. I think it's safe to say that you want to start picking those guys up, but it's still a pretty spread out offense. You got 4 receivers getting 50% of the snaps, so you have to pick and choose your spots, but if Jimmy G's out there, grab him and then get after it.
That's right. Now, kind of pivoting on this game, I think Cincinnati's defense is bad, like real bad. And so as a result of that, I think I'm targeting any team that's playing them, their passing game especially, and their rushing game. They got gashed on the ground to the tune of 273 yards to the backfield committee that is the San Francisco 49ers between Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, and
Jeff Wilson.
Jeff Wilson. Yeah, I can appreciate that. I couldn't even think of his name.
Jeff Wilson.
Jeff
effing Wilson.
So as a result of that, I think the Cincinnati's offense, their passing game, is going to get an uptick due to being in a lot of negative game scripts. And for that reason, I'm selling Joe Mixon. They have a banged-up offensive line, not very good to begin with. And so I think there's going to be a lot of negative game scripts where Joe Mixon's kind of pushed back. His usage is not going to be – he's not going to get 20 cut touches because they're going to be behind a lot.
Hold up,
y'all.
Hold up just a minute. I disagree with you here. I think really the Bengals just got out-coached here by the Niners. They had a bunch of blown coverages, blown run filling. They had a bunch of blown stuff. So Kyle Shanahan had them on their heels with his play calling. It was one of his best play calling performances ever. So that's what helped the Niners destroy them. I think if you look in week 1, this is a defense that held up pretty well against the Seahawks on the road. They did get some pressure on Russell Wilson, so I just think they got out-coached here. I think going forward, it's probably going to be an average unit. And then with Mixon, he started off the year injured, had a really brutal matchup in Seattle. They're really good against the run. Niners are pretty good against the run too, but not as good as Seattle. And then he was obviously banged up, so... But against the Niners, he did get a bunch of high-value touches. He got a few targets, which is, I thought all those would go to Gio, but he got some here. And he had 3 carries inside the 10. Didn't punch him in, but he's getting those touches down there. So I think slowly but surely, as he's worked back into playing condition here, as he gets healthy, I think he'll start to pick up. And maybe even this week against the Bills' run defense that I'm not afraid of at all.
Interesting to say that against the Bills' run defense after what they've done the past couple of years, but I agree with you that their run defense is pretty pedestrian.
It's a bit suspect.
Yeah.
It's suspect, as they say.
For sure. All right, moving on. Other breaking news we had come out yesterday was that
Breaking news.
Well, it's not breaking today. It's already happened. It's in the past now, but
it's about people breaking body parts.
Drew Brees has a torn ligament in his throwing thumb, his throwing hand, and he's going to be out for 6 weeks at a minimum. There's rumors about IR, the injury reserve, so which would put him at a minimum of 8 weeks. So Teddy Bridgewater has revitalized his career as New Orleans backup. He'll be stepping in as the backup as the fill-in for Drew Brees. What are your thoughts on Teddy Brees?
Revitalize himself as a bench. Yeah, he revitalized his career as a bench warmer.
Yeah, exactly.
He's keeping Bench nice and toasty for the boys there.
That's right. Hey, he gets an opportunity here though to kind of set himself back up. I mean, he was a first overall pick 5 years ago. So
Yeah, something like that.
yeah,
So, well, he's been out of the league, or not out of the league, but he's after he had that devastating knee injury a few years back. He hasn't played a whole lot. So, and you could tell by his playing against the Rams.
yeah,
I think you probably look at this as similar to what is going on in Indianapolis with Jacoby Brissett. He's going to play decent, maybe well at times, but he's not Breeze. So you really got to scale back all your expectations for this offense. Same way you did with Colts. The Colts are putting up some points, but Briskett's kind of just a little more than a game manager. He can make the occasional throw, and I think you'll see the same with Bridgewater here. He hasn't been running with the ones for a while, so by the time he actually gets it going, Breeze, or if he gets it going, Breeze will be back. So
yeah,
the only really shining light here is if you're a Jared Cook owner. In 3/4 of action, Jared Cook got 5 targets from Bridgewater, so that at least Cook isn't dead. So there's at least hope there.
Yeah, I think Bridgewater can do well. I mean, he's surrounded by a ton of weapons. It's still one of the, I wouldn't say top 5 offensive lines, but definitely up there, top 10 for sure. So I think he's surrounded by a weapon. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Ted Ginn. So he's got some weapons. So he may be, and then of course Jared Cook, as you mentioned. So I think Bridgewater could perform at a probably not a great level, but top 15, top 20 performances aren't out of the question.
Yeah, it might take him a few weeks to shake the rust off.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on. The Eagles have offense that is completely destroyed right now. All of their offensive starters. No, I'm just kidding. But a lot of players out. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Goddard's banged up. What are you making of the Eagles and their 87 injuries?
Well, and their offensive line played really bad against Atlanta, and that was a unit that was really hyped coming into the season. So that's interesting to see if they can right the ship there.
Yes.
But as far as the injuries goes, you got a bunch of backups stepping forward. Arcega-Whiteside, JJ Arcega-Whiteside is a guy they're real high on in camp. And so he's going to get a chance to shine here, but he is a rookie, so we'll see what he does. Mac Holland's been kicking around there for a few years. Occasionally has a splash game, but he's nothing to write home about. And you obviously got Aguilar stepping into that wide receiver 1 position, so be curious to see what his does. He did really well against Atlanta on Sunday.
Yes.
But I think the main benefactor, depending on who's in and who's out at whatever time, is one Mr. Zach Ertz. He really dominated targets last year when a lot of these guys were hurt.
Yep.
And he had 16 targets against Atlanta. So I think he's the main benefactor going forward. So some of you guys that drafted Zach Ertz might be a little, what's happening? He hasn't blown up yet. The blow-up's coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth noting that Aguilar had a lot of targets as well. I think he had 11 or 12 after Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffries went out. So, definitely some guys there that you just kind of have to project onto those other guys. Arcega-Whiteside, Mac Hollins. You have to kind of project what they're going to do with Alshon and Djax being out, if Alshon even is out. For sure, but Deshaun Jackson is out a couple of weeks with an abdominal injury. So, so you just kind of play it by ear with those guys. Other breaking news, another injured quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger had to have Tommy John surgery on that right elbow, his throwing elbow, and so he is done for the season. What do you think about Mason Rudolph stepping in as the starter there?
I generally don't like quarterbacks who have an occupation as a first name, Mason. So I generally don't care for that. You've known me for a few years. That's one of my pet peeves.
That's right.
The coaching staff's real high on him, but he's in his second year. He's still got that baby fat double chin, so he ain't really grown into his man body yet.
Ben Roethlisberger still has that double chin going on.
Well, his is from eating and drinking, so.
Oh, so he didn't have it when he was younger. Got it.
No, he had a nice chiseled jawline for a while. But I think the immediate impact of this offense is it's a downgrade to everybody, obviously.
Right.
Uh, just going through the list of wide receivers here for Pittsburgh, Dante Moncrief has played like garbage the last 2 weeks, so he was benched. And then you got wide receivers Deontay Johnson, who's kind of that intermediate Moncrief guy, and then James Washington, who's the wide receiver 4, and who occasionally he's the guy to pick up here because he's the one getting those high ADOT targets.
Yep.
And his snap count did increase from like 42 to 60 this week, so hopefully that's encouraging. Maybe he gets some more of those, get some more targets, and with the familiarity with Rudolph, maybe he lands a few of those. So that's what you got to hope for going forward.
Yeah, and I think too, the Steelers coaching staff, the front office, has decided that Mason Rudolph is their answer at quarterback. You saw some other news that came out of the Steelers already this week has been they traded their 2020 first round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick, defensive back from the Miami Dolphins. We've already talked about the Dolphins tanking this year. I'm not going to spend any. They traded their best secondary piece for a first round pick next year, so they have accumulated 20 picks so far in next year's draft.
Yeah, I think they own the first round at this point.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it just shows confidence that the Steelers think Rudolph is their answer moving forward, since they're willing to give up that high value. I think they're going to have a top 5 pick next year, and so yeah, just kind of interesting that they traded it for Fitzpatrick, which leads me to believe that they think that Rudolph is the answer.
Yeah, they're going to try to win this year. That Steelers secondary is trash. They've getting blasted the first 2 weeks, especially on the inside, the slots and tight ends. And what's curious is they're going to have Minkah Fitzpatrick play safety, and he was a corner for a while, so I don't know if he played safety in college, and he's going to start this week, so maybe that's go back to well with some 49ers wide receivers this week.
Now Minkah came out as a corner and converted to a safety. He came out in the draft, and he's been playing safety for the Dolphins now for since at least last year.
Okay.
So yeah, he's kind of got that role under reps. I think he drops down to nickel in some formations, but for the most part, he's playing safety. So
okay.
All right, moving on. We have the Chiefs and all of that craziness going on with Tyreek Hill still being out. We kind of got some clarity a little bit in week 2. What'd you see from the Chiefs?
Well, Hardman and Robinson are the guys to own here. Probably more Robinson because he's getting more snaps. Hardman is still a part-time player.
Right.
But just know when you pick them up, you're only renting them until, it's got to be back to Blockbuster by Friday, You're only renting them until Tyreek Hill gets back. So, just buyer beware. In the interim, you have no idea who to play each week. So Sammy blows up week 1, then Kelsey and Robinson blow up week 2. So then it's probably going to be back to Sammy next week. And then, yeah. So it just, best passing game in the league, you got to pick up those guys. And then in the Chiefs backfield, LaShawn McCoy is hurt. And Damian Williams? Damian Williams is hurt.
Yep.
So this might be Darwin Thompson time. If you remember in the preseason, the touts were pretty heavy on him until the Shady pickup.
Yep.
So it might be his time to shine. So
yep.
if you got him stashed, good for you. If somebody dropped him, go ahead and pick him up as a speculative pickup.
Yep, exactly. Shady and D-Will both are expected. I don't think they're expected to miss time. Both injuries, and they avoided major injuries. They're calling Damon Williams a knee contusion, and then Shady had that knee MRI'd, and all good there. So they're just gonna rest them over the next couple of days. Probably see if they can suit up for week 1. I think if either one of these guys get in limited participation in either practice, then they're probably on schedule to see the field. But yeah, just make sure to watch that injury report over the next few days and Sunday morning. One interesting
Yeah, yeah.
stat you mentioned Blockbuster at the beginning of that, and so I wanted to bring out my interesting stat. There is exactly one Blockbuster store remaining in the world now. Uh, Earlier this year, the second to last one shut down in Australia. The last one is in Bend, Oregon. So if you're in Bend, Oregon, make sure to go check out Blockbuster. You get a blast from the past.
Wow.
All right.
Interesting.
So moving right along, Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that passing game's terrible right now.
Yes.
I know if you listen to our show in the off season leading up some drafts, we were pretty high on this Bears passing game. Still are. So I would just say be patient. I think the breakout's coming. This team was slow out of the gate last year, and this is due to head coach Matt Nagy's giant ego, unnecessarily complicated playbook.
Yes.
So I think it might take a few weeks then to get going. And if you look at their schedule coming up as far as pass defenses, they got the Redskins on Monday night. They got a not so great matchup against the Vikings at home. Then they got the Raiders at the Raiders. They got the Saints coming to town. They got the Chargers. They got the Eagles. So there's at least 4 pass defenses that I'm willing to target there. So the breakout's coming. Just be patient.
Yes. Something else I wanted to add to the Chicago Bears is there was an odd running back rotation. Everybody was freaking out after week one because of that odd rotation.
A 3-man committee with one of them playing wide receiver.
That's right. So David Montgomery, everybody obviously that drafted him pretty high. He got a lot of run in week two after only seeing a handful of carries in week one. He was close to the 20 mark as far as touches were concerned. But he still had less than 50% of the snaps. Came in at 44% of the snaps in week two that he played for the Chicago Bears. So he's getting going. He's obviously their most talented back, but it's just hard to trust a guy that gets 50% of the snaps or less.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, now I just want to hit y'all with a couple quick hitters to kind of wrap it up here.
Quick hitters.
Austin Eckler for
Eckler.
the Chargers is the number one fantasy running back right now.
I know. That's just hard to say.
Yeah, it's odd, but I mean,
He's producing.
We kind of, you and I kind of talked him up a little bit in the offseason. I mean, he
we drafted him everywhere.
Yeah, I drafted him. Yeah, everywhere. Especially if I had Melvin Gordon. Went ahead and picked up Austin Eckler just to make sure, and sure enough, I mean, he's producing for me, so he's a mainstay on my roster until Gordon comes back. But I just want to say, if you're not the Melvin Gordon owner, he is hot right now, hot, hot, hot. So if you're not the Melvin Gordon owner, I might go ahead and start looking to ship him off because there's still concerns about Gordon coming back by week 6, week 8, somewhere in there. So
yeah, go ahead and maybe wait a week or two, and then just if you need the points, and then or if you don't need them, move them now.
Yeah, that's my big concern with him as far as that's concerned is when that news finally breaks, Gordon will be back. His value almost drops to 0. So
yeah, Eckler's he's getting CMC light volume, so he's getting about 12 to 15 carries, 6 to 8 targets. It depends on the week, which side of it he's on. But I mean, and they're high value. He's getting all the carries in the red zone. He's getting targets all over the field. Those are high value touches for running back. So I think he's got a good workload going forward. Might be time to sell sooner rather than later. Well, because if he has a dud, you won't be able to move him.
Exactly. And one other quick hitter I wanted to hit you with, Le'Veon Bell is the highest targeted running back as far as passing targets thus far in the season through 2 weeks, obviously, but he's playing the Patriots in week 3 with the third string quarterback.
Oof.
So
yeah, it's another QB injury. Yeah, Bell's getting that heavy volume we expected him to. There was some talk in the preseason about Tymo kind of taking some touches from him, and that just hasn't materialized. So if once Darnold gets back and that offense can ever get on track, maybe they get on a late season run. He's definitely a guy to have late in the season.
And there's one other quick hitter I wanted to hit you with. The Bills are now the quarterback killers. Week 1, they played the Jets. Which quarterback didn't start in week 2?
Darnold. They busted his spleen and gave him mono.
And week 2, who did the Bills play?
The Giants.
And whose quarterback just got benched?
Eli Manning.
So
we're about to see the demise of the Red Rocket.
So, yeah, he's got Andy Dalton and Tom Brady in week 4. So,
Brady will beat it. Brady won that.
And so, well, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. Andy Dalton, Tom Brady, watch your backs. The Bills are coming to town. So,
yeah.
With that, I'm going to wrap it up. Let's call it a day.
Let's get out of here.
Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all on the next one. I'm Mitch. He's Bam. This is Buy Low Fantasy Sports. We're out.
Buy low.